Hero News presents Hero of the Month. Each month, Hero News features a Broadway or off-Broadway performer who has been a role model and inspiration in helping the HIV/AIDS community. This month, this singer, actor, dancer, director has toured in several equity musicals and it has been seen in and set productions of A Chorus Line around the world. His staging talents have also been seen on catwalks of Fashion Week. This singular sensation is our Hero of the Month, Louis Villabon. And now your host, Michael Cavanaugh.
I'm Mike Cavanaugh with HIVHero.org and HERONEWS.org, and I'm here with one of my very close friends and a great guy, amazing career, Louis Villabon. How are you, Louis?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
You knew when you were pretty young that you wanted to do this. How old were you?
Well, listen, I watched a lot of television as a kid. When you're one of 7, television becomes a babysitter, kind of like the iPad is now. And I watched a lot of these incredible shows like Sesame Street, Electric Company, The Magic Garden, which was a local New York City show. And I knew that I had to do what those people in that box were doing. So I feel like it chose me.
Right, sure.
Yeah, so I was about 4 years old when I knew I wanted to do it.
So Chorus Line, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'm super lucky to have had that show as part of my life. And there was an audition for the Atlantic City production of A Chorus Line directed by Bjork Lee. I was reading her book at the time, On the Line, that she wrote with Tommy Walsh and Robert Viagas. And I went to this audition knowing the jazz combination, pretending I didn't know it, which was good. But then the ballet combination came, and I did not know what I was doing at all, because I did not know the choreography. I'd never been to an audition before, and that's where my true colors showed. She kept me anyway to sing, and eventually I was cast, like in Worth Tyrrell Studios, as an understudy first. And the guy playing Paul, it was a very grueling schedule, 12 shows a week of the full show. And you know casino shows usually are cut down. But here, the Bennett estate would not let them do a cut version of the show. So the guy playing Paul took a little break to go back to New York to visit his boyfriend, and I was on at the age of 20.
Wow.
And so the stage manager called Bjork Lee, said, you got to come down and see this kid do this monologue. She did, and they gave me the part.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was the beginning of my association
that ballet
with Chorus Line.
combination.
I certainly did.
You do so many different things. So I want to go a little bit into some of your other roles.
Sure.
Because I just got to see one, and I loved it. It was Rocky Horror Picture Show, and you played the main character, Frankfurter. Tell me about that experience, because I just saw you up there, and you were just owning it.
Thank you. That experience was a real life changer for me. And to be able to not only do the show, but to do the iconic role of Dr. Frankenfurter was a dream come true. The director-choreographer was Joe Barros, and the interesting thing about my relationship with him is that I've often play in his shows as an actor, but I also was asked to be the associate director-choreographer for him. So I had a dual role in this production as associate director-choreographer and as the lead in the show, and that was really tough. But I loved that challenge. It was fantastic to be able to have some concepts of the show, to be able to share them with Joe, have them approved, and then just go full force with it. It was really a unique experience.
I just want to let everyone know, this guy is super talented. One of my favorite singers in the city.
Oh, thanks.
And he has performed at all 5 of our Broadway and Ballet Hero Awards. So check out BroadwayandBallet.com.org or HIVHero.org or .com, and you can see all of our performances for Broadway and Ballet. But I want to thank you for doing that. Advice would you give for people that want to get in this business, and how do you stay in this business?
Yeah, I would say ignore the odds. You know, it'd be so easy to get caught up in, whoa, I want to do this, but there's so many other people that want to do it, and the statistics are so against you as a performer. I would say ignore the odds, follow your truth. Find your truth, follow the truth, and go for it. And don't listen to any naysayers.
Right. You could do any musical theater role. What would it be?
Ooh, do I only have to pick one?
Only one, and then one you haven't done.
All right, yeah, I would say Hedwig in Hedwig and the Angry Inch if I had to
Okay, I
choose
want
one.
you to look at the camera. You have 20 seconds of audition time. Ready?
Oh my
Ready?
God, this is so impromptu.
Well, that's how it is in the business.
Let's
Wanna stay
see.
in the- Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All nights like this, when the world's a bit amiss, and the lights go down across the trailer park.
All right. You know what? Hey, I'd hire you. So anyone doing Hedwig,
This guy.
also give me a call. I can connect you. I'm the connection man.
Nice.
One thing you've been doing is traveling around the world with designer Milan, and you're doing production of fashion shows, which I'm sure are now the most amazing fashion shows ever. So tell me how that happened.
Yeah, so Milan Breton is the designer you're talking about. He used to be on Project Runway Season 3. And since he became this really big designer, he loves for his Fashion Week shows to be very theatrical. So he reached back in his memory, said, you know what, Louis is a director now. I'd love for him to direct my shows because he's in the world of theater. So he kind of created a role in the world of fashion that didn't exist, which is show director. And so I'm responsible for everything that has to do with the technical aspects of the show. I even work with the models and their walks and their patterns, because we don't just want to send the models down the runway and back up. It's been done. And so I work with them, I choreograph them, I give them challenging things to do. They're always up for something different. And I'm also in charge of, you know, lighting and sound and concept to help Milan with concept. And it's just been an awesome kind of third act component to my career.
So Louis, as you know, we're a site that helps newly diagnosed and people living with HIV. Do you have a message about the importance of being safe out there to people, young and old alike?
Yeah, I have a lot to say about it, actually. I think that in this time where people are taking PrEP a lot, it's important to know that HIV is not the only thing that that can be transmitted. First of all, know your facts. Undetectable equals untransmittable. However, there are other things you can catch, and I think that it's important to be safe. I think if you're going to have multiple partners, I think getting tested regularly is very important. And then to be proactive about telling your sexual partners if you've caught something. I mean, look, it could be uncomfortable. I've done it. It could be very, very uncomfortable to have to make those phone calls, but it's super important to be proactive about it and do it, because my experience has been that even though when I've had to call people and say, look, I just got tested and found out that I have, you know, A, B, or C, STI, STD, they're in the long run very appreciative. And whether they feel good about it or not, I'm happy that I did my duty. So I think it's important to communicate. First of all, get tested a lot for any myriad of things that you can catch, sexually transmitted infections or diseases, and then be very communicative about that. I think if I had one message to say, it would be that.
Yeah. I think, you know, one of the things I want to mention is that there's a huge rise in these other STDs and STIs because people aren't using condoms anymore. So if you go to a doctor, and especially if you don't go to a gay doctor or an HIV doctor or whatever, please request a swab when you're there of your throat just to make sure. Because these are kind of things that there are no symptoms. Some of these STDs,
correct,
you have no idea. So you can be transmitting it over and over again, and it can lead to serious health problems.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned the oral swab, because obviously to get an anal swab is important, but also the oral swab, because you could just have something only orally and nowhere else. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
So Louis, we live in the most fantastic city in the world. What is your favorite New York story that's happened to you?
Whew. I'll give you a great story. It has to do with auditioning, so I'm sorry to keep it all theater related, but I hope it's worth it. There's a production of A Chorus Slam that's going to open tomorrow night at City Center for their 75th anniversary. And as you know, very close to the people that put the show together. My good friend J. Elaine Marcos, who has played Connie Wong all over the place, including the last Broadway revival, was asked by the creative team to, yes, of course, you're going to read for Connie again, but wouldn't it be great for you to read another part? And Bob Avian, in a stroke of genius, said, why don't we have her read for Val? She immediately texts me and says, Louis, they're asking me to read for Val, which I think is really outrageous. So I want to ask you if you wouldn't mind crashing my audition in drag as Sheila and reading the lines in the song Dance 10 Looks 3 with me. And I was like, I found myself saying yes only because Jaylene Marcos is one of the most brilliant comedians I know. What a brilliant comedic actress she is.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yes, absolutely, I'll do it. And then after I said yes, I'm like, what am I getting myself into? Like, I know that whole creative team, it could have gone south really quickly, but walked into the room. Once she's in the middle of her audition, the song comes, she opens the door, I walk in as Sheila, we walk in perfect sync, I put my hand on my hip and bevel like Sheila does and did the lines with her. And we didn't know if it was landing or not. We thought it was hilarious, but there was no laughter in the room, which made us really nervous.
Sure, yeah.
Everyone behind the table was literally like this. And so there was we didn't know if it was landing.
Right, sure.
And so we were like, are we going to get blacklisted in this business because we did a sacrilegious thing, crashing an audition? And luckily, it turned out really well. They thought it was hilarious, and Jaylene Marcos was cast as Val in a chorus line.
Wow, what a great story.
The first Filipina-American, actually she's Canadian, Filipina-Canadian, to play Val, who's usually blonde hair and blue-eyed.
See, that's a great insider story. I love it. It's so great to have you. I've been wanting to do this for forever, and I want to thank you again. 5 years Broadway and ballet. You have this amazing career. You're always doing something interesting. I love hanging out with you. So I think you're going to make that happen. There's going to be a Broadway show and a movie going on and a sitcom at the same time.
From your mouth to anybody's ears who's listening.
Well, thank you again. It was so great to see you. I love you.
I love you too, man. Thank you.